Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. Well, checking out the Earth changes, we see Typhoon Ambo leaves a trail of destruction in central Philippines. The latest updates are showing that 5 people have lost their lives. There's been a lot of damage to crops and a lot of damage to buildings and homes. They did do a good job in evacuation, so things could have been a lot worse here, really, when you look at the amount of destruction. And check out some of these photos as you see these waves battering houses along the coastline at Catabalagan City, and this is in Samar province. Look at those waves, and there's videos here for you guys too. So they said that the damage caused was pretty comparable to what was caused by Super Typhoon Yolanda. And this estimation is based on, looking at the devastation in terms of infrastructure and agriculture. It could be very comparable. The major difference is during Yolanda, some hundreds and thousands of people died, unlike this one. And everyone added that several local governments fell short of funds after much of it was used for we know what efforts. The storm destroyed multiple buildings, and as we said, a lot of the agriculture. But due to evacuations, not that many lives were lost. And so big difference between 5 and losing hundreds or thousands. Because, look at some of the photos of the damage. Pretty devastating as we see the path as it just basically went right through the central Philippines. So, yet another one. And we have Tropical Storm Arthur forming off the coast of Florida as the first named storm of the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season. And so, this is about 2 full weeks ahead of the official start of the season. And we see the path it's going to take. It will most definitely cause some waves and some winds out there on the Outer Banks. The Outer Banks are amazingly beautiful, and I once traveled from the top all the way down to the bottom, went through the whole thing. It was a great little trip, and there are wild horses out there that they won't let you get too close. You could get up to maybe 20-30 feet and then they'll take a step back, and that was on Corolla Island that we saw them. What a breathtakingly beautiful area, and yet it really takes a special person to live out there because, for one, you're on just a real thin, small chain of islands that's way offshore when you get down to it. And many of the houses are up on stilts because of the erosion and just the chance of flooding. So this should not be a major event, but it is definitely a kickoff to the season. Looming giant landslide in Alaska could trigger enormous tsunami at any moment. The collapse of an unstable mountain slope in Alaska, as we said, could cause a catastrophic tsunami in Harriman Fjord, scientists warn. Rolling through Prince William Sound, which is located some 60 miles from Anchorage, this massive wall of water would threaten potentially hundreds of people at one time. And, this type of thing, well, not at this level, but Alaska is particularly prone to these type of events. Alaska is one of the most earthquake-prone places on the planet, most definitely. And, it is just such a rugged and beautiful landscape. And I think Cindy had said you had been up there before.
Yeah. Been up there before. Absolutely gorgeous. God's country.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. So this slope is currently creeping very slowly, but it could turn into a fast-moving landslide at virtually any moment. Factors that could trigger a catastrophic collapse include quakes, of course, significant rainfall, and lots of snow. And the ongoing retreat of Berry Glacier could also contribute to the timing of the imminent collapse. Predicting precisely when this unstable slope might fail is not easy, but scientists said that this landslide-generated tsunami will happen within the next year and likely within the next 20 years. So it's something that they know is coming, and it can be, pretty catastrophic. The good side is that there's not a ton of people in the immediate area, not like we're looking at something happening as would be the case in, say, Cascadia or in San Andreas area. But, Alaska is no stranger to landslide-induced tsunamis. On July 9th, 1958, an earthquake triggered a landslide in Lituya Bay, releasing an estimated 40 million cubic yards, 30 million cubic meters of material. The ensuing splash reached more than 1,700 feet in height. That's pretty scary. A giant wave then rolled through the fjord, knocking over trees and killing 5 people. More recently, a 2015 landslide near Alaska's Tongue Glacier produced a 633-foot wave in Tongue Fjord that smashed into the opposite wall of the glacial valley. And a 2017 landslide in Greenland produced a tsunami that roared into a small, isolated community. So the looming tsunami of Harriman Fjord, however, would dwarf these other examples, as we see a map of the area there. And you can see the dark is where the landslide would happen, and then the waves would go on out. And the scientists estimate a potential volume of collapsing material could be as high as 500 million cubic meters, with a potential energy roughly 10 times greater than any of the previous events in Alaska. And this is several hundred times the volume of the Hoover Dam. And this is an enormous slope. The mass that could fail weighs over 1 billion tons. The internal structure of that rock mass, which will determine whether it collapses, is very complex. At the moment, we don't know enough about it to be able to forecast its future behavior. But the slope should be monitored, such as with GPS stations, which could signal a pending collapse. Geologists should conduct a more detailed investigation to understand the rock slope better, and a plan to be put in place for managing the risks should the avalanche start to accelerate. The highest tsunami on Earth has already occurred in Alaska. It was triggered by a giant landslide following an earthquake. So is it going to happen again? Yeah, and if it does, will it be on a much more dramatic scale?
Yeah, it will. It'll be very dramatic.
And then over here, we see the USGS. We don't want to be alarmist, but we also need to tell the public that there's an increasing possibility of explosive eruptions at Kilauea. And this is, of course, in Hawaii. And, they have noticed since 2019 there's been a change that scientists believe could pose a potential danger to the Big Island. Water has started to collect in the caldera to form a lake. And so you see these images of it. And NASA captured images showing before the lava lake in Halea crater drained, and after the caldera floor collapsed, and then after the crater floor pooled with water. So this is something that they're looking at as a potential for an eruption. And you have a new crater lake there as well. Actually, there's been interesting earthquake activity. And, this is something that we need to just keep an eye on for everybody over there in Hawaii. And while we're talking about that, let's look at the shaking that's going on right now. This is still a lot of quakes. So if we're looking at this is in the Nevada area over by Tonopah and below Hawthorne. And we see 322 of the 541 globally reported quakes on the USGS in the last 24 hours are in this area. So lots and lots of aftershocks. It does look different than yesterday, so perhaps it's trailing off a little bit. And we're going to really watch this. Of course, we have swarming at Ridgecrest. We have swarming at the glaciers. We have swarming up here in Idaho. We have 11 of them over there where we had that quake earlier. Salt Lake City is quiet right now at the moment. There's only showing 3 up in Seattle area, and then 1 over here off the coast. So, calm before the storm, or are things easing off? We will have to watch it. And there was a big fire in LA, and you see here a huge explosion in LA injures 10 firefighters, ignites multiple buildings. So this was quite a fire, as you guys could see. And in fact, LA fire may seek help from the feds. An investigation of this massive fire actually ended up injuring 12 firefighters. So, they say they're not saying it's arson or terrorism or anything like that, but they might ask for help from the feds to determine what really happened here. And we got 11 Native American herbs and recipes worth learning, as we were talking so much about getting back to nature. And, there's so much of a buzz right now, too. I'm getting a lot of people in different circles saying what I was feeling, that we might, have some grid outages, but before the end of the year even. And it seems like I'm seeing that in different comments from people.
Yeah, it very well could happen with the alignment of the planets and things that are changing. Those energies definitely influence our grid.
So give you some more ideas on things to grow in your garden or wherever you can. Of course, we're all limited in our own individual ways, and we're already, discovering it's not easy in the desert. And the winds last night, this fourth night in a row without much sleep. Again, of course, being in a camper that's just a hair under 3,000 pounds, when you have wind gusts that feel like they're at least 50 to 60 miles an hour going all night. And that does, present a challenge for growing things. And so, the structure that we put up, thankfully, is helping the plants withstand these winds. And so, the tomatoes are still standing up, and instead of being broken to shreds, which if they didn't have that support, there's no way they would make it. But every place has its challenge, because a lot of you guys are talking about too much water, not enough sunshine, too many clouds, chilly weather, even potentially frost still. So here's 12 items that you should learn about. Perhaps blackberries. And growing up as a kid, I remember I had 2 sets of aunts in 2 different places, and they both had several blackberry trees, and I just remember going in the backyard and picking and munching like crazy until I get a bellyache.
That sounds so yummy. We did that when I was growing up too. You can just eat off the side of the mountain.
And, let thy food and the herbs be your medicine. So scientific research has revealed that blackberries are rich in antioxidants, which may explain why they can reduce stomach pain. We have buckbrush. Is buckbrush one that you're familiar with?
No, actually.
Okay. Well, this is actually something that could be used to treat tumors and cysts, inflammation, sore throats, and also for cleansing the kidneys. And the best way to consume it is to make a tea out of it. Simply boil some water and set the roots in it for 5 to 10 minutes, and then you could drink the tea to get the full benefits. Cattails, I remember these. I remember burning these as a kid.
Those were a lot of fun.
So cattail is more of a preventative treatment than an actual medicine. So you can't eat the seeds and the leaves, but the rest of it can actually be eaten. Cattail is best used as an antiseptic for open wounds, like cuts and abrasions and scrapes. And we have dandelion, which, everybody, well, not everybody, we don't really have too many of these out in the desert, but back east, everywhere back east, we'd have a ton of dandelions, and I know people that make dandelion wine.
Oh, and dandelion tea?
Yes, most definitely, and dandelion salad. And we have elderflower. Familiar with this?
No, I'm not. Mm-mm.
So it can be consumed in a number of ways. Jelly, syrup, and tea are some of the most popular ones. Be careful, the only edible part is the flower itself. The leaves, twigs, roots, and stems are toxic. So careful of that, but it can be used as a treatment for sweating, bleeding, bronchitis, constipation, colds, influenza, and again, the common cold. Flaxseed. Now, flaxseed's something that we would take on a regular basis. It's used to help treat the kidneys, can be used to treat sore throats, heart-related problems, and can be consumed in any way that you see fit, as long as you do not consume it when it's raw or unripe. Best way is in its powdered form. Lavender. Lavender is beautiful, smells wonderful.
Yes, a lot can be done with that.
Yeah, can help you sleep, and you can make lavender oil with it as well. mint, and we've had a lot of mint in our gardens, and it's wonderful in tea, very rich in vitamin A and vitamin C. Rosemary is a favorite of mine, most definitely. It's probably one of my top like 4 or 5 herbs, I would say. And it was considered a sacred plant by many Native American tribes. And it's great for alleviating pain in joints and muscles as well. Can help the immune system and digestion and nervous system as well as the circulatory system. And then we have sumac, which is really good at treating colds, fevers, and sore throats as well. And again, you make a tea with that. Yarrow can be used to stop excessive bleeding as well. And again, you could use that as a tea. So guys, I want to just encourage everybody again. We are on Brighteon and also on BitChute. And, go ahead and subscribe over there as well, because you never know what's going to happen in this world.
I know, it's so unpredictable right now.
Excuse me there. And I want to thank everybody for their support on Ko-Fi and Patreon, because that has definitely kept us going with doing this. And we couldn't do it without the support that we receive over there. So thank you guys so much for that.
We so appreciate your guys' support in every way. Thank you.
As always, my friends, stay safe out there. Stay prepared. God bless and namaste.
God bless and namaste.